Well, no, it was the...
It was the Revels advert.
That's
The
it,
Nestle chocolate Revels.
Yeah, the Rebels advert.
Yeah.
Which what a lot of people don't know is that came first. And the Deer Hunter ripped that off.
Really?
Yep.
Welcome.
Sure.
Well, you heard it here first, Comedy Dining Experience fans.
Yeah, that's really what happened. And don't look it up, because I'm right.
And on the topic of the Deer Hunter, Ben, we are getting Tromatastic today.
That was a really good edit. Yes, we are. I just want to say something about the Toxic Avenger before we sit down and watch it.
Yeah, sure.
I have not seen this since high school.
Amazing.
So you probably watched this about an hour ago.
What do you mean, Ben? We're watching it right now. No, to be honest with you, I haven't seen it in probably about 5 or 6 years.
Well, that's still long. That's still
It's
less
still
time than
less
me.
time, yeah. But I picked up the beautiful 88 Films Blu-ray release for that high definition trash that we all love very dearly.
Give him money, 88 Films, for plugging up things.
Please send us free films. We will review and or commentate on them. When the quality's this good, how could you refuse?
They'll send you exactly free films
Exactly.
before deciding it's not worth it.
They will send me exactly 88 films,
That'd be good.
but only
Is that why
88.
they're called? Because that library has 88 films in it.
Yes, they have to kick one out every time they release a new one.
Oh, right. There's only room in our vaults for 88.
Yes, we literally are at capacity once we go past that.
I have an 89 film. Get out!
You
Get
are
out now!
You freak! You do not belong here.
If I have a heart attack at any point during this film, at least it'll be picked on audio for the world to hear. Bit like that tape of that senator shooting himself.
Yes.
It'll be like that.
Or the Christine Chubbuck news report.
Yeah,
thing.
that's not a very cheery thing to start the conversation.
The Toxic Avenger.
the Christine Chubbuck fucking thing.
You know, they recently found audio
Yeah,
for
I
that.
know. I listened to it.
Yeah. What do you think?
Because of course I did.
Same here. What do you think? Real or faked?
Can you really rate a audio of a woman shooting herself? I don't think you can give it marks out of 10.
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
That question, what did you think of it? What do you mean, what did I think of it?
Well-
So if it's a woman shooting herself, what is there to think about
Well, there's like
it?
serious contention about whether it's actually real or not.
Well, who's to say?
Well,
You can only really say if a video copy turns up, which will probably be nigh impossible, or if someone who's actually watched it live would remember, but until that happens, it gets unlikely per year. We don't know. If it's a fake, then it's very, very well done. But thing is though, if you're going to fake it, would you not try and fake the video as well to give it that extra air of?
good point. Good point. Although I suppose if you've got like some really ropey audio, you can kind of pass that off as more legitimate than you could like matching video footage to it.
Yeah.
So
Let's stop talking about Christine Chubbuck now.
yeah, let's instead swap to cheery.
Not a very nice avenue.
No, let's not. So Ben, you've just eaten your own weight in garlic bread and cheesy chips.
Well,
How are you
I didn't
feeling?
have anything. It's like it was like 9 o'clock when it arrived, about an hour ago, and I got up this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning
Jesus.
for work, and then I had to come do this, and I had to.
You had to.
And I've not had anything to eat in that time.
So you're nice and full and ready to take on the traumatic adventures of Toxie.
Yeah.
I had a curry for my tea, and it was very nice. I had a korma, and I'm still drinking 7-Up Cherry. So we're watching the Toxic Avenger, and we're currently on a black screen, and we're going to hit play. Oh, we also should mention, this won a poll. We actually did a poll on the channel for which one you'd like to see commentated, and we had Big Trouble in Little China, Doctor Strangelove, or this, and this won by a country mile.
So this has to be good now.
So we're doing this for you, the fans.
So Dan, it has to be good. No pressure.
Yep, no pressure. It's going to be perfect. Anyway, we're on a black screen, and we're going to hit play in 3, 2, 1. And it's revving. It's going.
Huh. Is that little disclaimer actually part of the film?
Yes.
It's not like a MPAA thing.
No.
So Dan, you know considerably more about this than me. What's with the disclaimer?
So the disclaimer is basically just a part of the gimmick to sell the movie, effectively. Lloyd Kaufman.
like a Troma.
Yeah.
Was that a thing that Troma did in the films?
Yeah, so in the early days, Troma kind of has 3 eras of filmmaking. There is the we actually care about the filmmaking process phase of Troma, in which they were sort of producers but also distributors. They made things like this and Class of Nukem High, and Blood-Sucking Freaks was on their books for a very long time.
What about Surf Nazis?
Surf Nazis kind of falls into the second era. The second era is from around about the mid to late 80s onwards. I'd say about 88 onwards. Basically, what happened was, once they got the wheels rolling on, we're the crazy company where anything goes.
They started to play that up a bit.
They started to really play that up a bit, to the point where the films actually stopped being, to me at least, stopped being quite as entertaining, because when you start...
Is that because they're sort of like... It's a bit like the difference between like... Would you say it's like when Tommy Wiseau does a project now, and he tries to make it funny?
Yes.
He tries to play up the weirdness.
Yes.
When even though he doesn't have to, he could just be weird.
Yeah, and it would work just fine.
This is just a shot of just zooming right into her tits.
Welcome to the wonderful world of Troma. The second era, basically what happened was they realised that the stuff that they'd made in the first instance was very competent. was very competent filmmaking.
Oh, the leg warmers.
Oh, yes. It was very competent filmmaking, and the shock value was really good. But when
I don't think I asked. What window of time does this fall into? Of the eras that you've sort of defined.
So this is kind of the first era.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact year that this actually came out. I'm going to have to look that up, because I don't want to look like a great big Wally who hasn't prepared.
That hasn't. Oh, look, there's me.
Ah, it's me after having the curry. 1984. Yeah, so this would fall into the first era of sort of Troma films, and then from around about 85, 86, maybe even 87 onwards, it entered a second phase where it was more gimmick over content.
Right.
At least in my opinion, and it kind of loses a bit of its charm when it did that, because you'd basically be the one that always sticks in my mind. I think it's called Troma's War. Let me just double check that one.
I don't know anything about that film, but that's a good title.
Yeah, Troma's War was 1988, and it's pretty endemic of the problem with Troma from that time. Surf Nazis Must Die is the same. Basically, the entire film is just either grotesque, over-the-top, sort of trying to be edgy stuff, like... sorry, the cat's trying to eat Ben. Troma's War, one of the main plot lines is that they want to create an army of super soldiers that are going to spread AIDS across the world.
Oh, delightful.
Yeah. And every fifth or sixth shot is an explosion. But the problem is, whereas that as a pitch sounds really good, the actual film itself is really boring, because it's like 2.5 hours long, and fuck all happens in it apart from, people going, we've got to stop them from spreading AIDS around the world. For like the whole runtime. Surf Nazis Must Die is the same, like a really good premise. Neo-Nazis surfers decide to sort of take on a small town.
You look like Rich D. Grant.
There's a little bit. Yeah.
If you squint a lot.
Hello. And then you get into the third era.
He does look in there. I demand to have some booze.
But this is the fun era of Troma, where everything's kind of melodramatic and over the top, but it's also got like key filmmaking elements in place.
Yeah.
You can the script is written with purpose. The jokes are actual jokes.
I'm getting very rock and roll high school vibes.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, Lloyd Kaufman and Roger Corman are good friends. So
not shocking.
No, not at all.
I know it's not Troma, but I just watched a documentary on Canon Films.
Oh, yes.
It's called something like The Untold Electric Boogaloo. Have you seen it?
Yes, I haven't watched it all the way through because it's in parts on YouTube. But
it's not now. It's on YouTube, but it's not in parts. You can watch the whole thing.
I'll have to go and have a dig then.
Yeah.
Last time I looked it up, it was in like part 1 of 7, and I was like,
oh no, you can. Someone's uploaded the whole 2-hour thing.
Nice.
And it was one of those things where it's like, I don't think I've seen virtually any of the infamous Canon films. I've seen the He-Man one. I've seen Superman 4. But it's just fascinating about like these like two nutters from Israel who were like arms dealers, and they decided they wanted to make films now.
Why not?
And just and they just tried to make the most American films possible, and they failed. But in failing, they came up with something new and unique and weird.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've one of the films we're probably going to watch at some point is the original American Ninja, which is a Canon film, and that one's quite bizarre. Basically, it's about like a Rambo figure who turns up on a...
Would you say that's part of the thing with quote-unquote bad films, is that by the director sort of trying to make something a certain way, they've created something that's totally unlike anything else. Take, for example, something like, to use the sort of cliche example, take like Plan 9, which is like an attempt at making a science fiction film, but it completely fails at that and just becomes a weird, wacky world dimension. Similarly, The Room, which is trying to be a drama, but fails and becomes the inner workings of Tommy Wiseau. And I feel like something like Zelda is licking my crotch. I'm trying to talk, Zelda. I'm trying to talk to them.
Wow, Ben, that grew really quickly.
And you are not helping my case. You're making me look stupid.
That is, are you going to let that go down, or do you want me to put my hat on it?
Well, you were going to do that anyway, right?
Oh, yes.
But like stuff like this, and a lot of the Troma stuff, and like canon stuff, feels like people trying to make like typical...
Sorry.
There's like a tiny little sliver of chicken.
There comes a point where it stops being just, the cat's licking Ben's crotch, and starts becoming, Ben, are you all right?
I'm trying to make some serious ass deep point, and a cat starts licking my crotch area because she saw a bit of chicken that was left over, like a tiny little atom of chicken, and she said, "I can't live my life without having that chicken."
Much like the Troma films, we're all about shock and exploitation.
But I guess what I mean is like trying to make like something like, I don't know, like this, like a teen monster film, and it doesn't quite work at that, but it sort of, in the process, it sort of defined itself accidentally. Yeah. And defined its own genre, its own world.
I mean, the argument I always make when it comes to bad films in particular is I think the thing that separates an entertainingly good bad film from a piece of shit, do not watch this radioactive piece of trash that no one should ever look at, is that at some point in the production, somebody involved in big decisions on the film sincerely believed that it was going to be a good film.
Yeah.
I think that's
sincerity is the key.
Yeah, that's got to be a critical point for me.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Lloyd Kaufman, when they made The Toxic Avenger, sincerely wanted to make a film that was so...
It was going to be like a giant smash that everyone would...
Yeah, he wanted to make something so big, so in-your-face aggressive with how nasty it could possibly be, that it ends up being this weird film like this. But that sincerity's there, you know. Like Michael and Lloyd both worked really hard to make this film genuine. And that's something that I feel is missing from a lot of contemporary Troma.
Are Troma still going?
Yeah, Troma's been going.
They still exist?
Yeah, they still make films.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's news to me.
Well, this is the problem, you see. Troma entered its sort of third phase around the mid-90s and never came back. And the third phase was we've completely...
Mediocrity.
Yeah, we've completely given up any pretense of being a legitimate film company. We are just going to churn out softcore porn for the next 40 years.
We're just going to place the brand.
Effectively.
Essentially, yeah.
Well, what Troma... Oh, yeah. Love it.
There's no cutaway, there's no discretion shot. We'll just flat out just watch a child get run over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, it gets better.
Oh, you can see his bloodied face. God. Reminds me of one of the running jokes in Freddy Got Fingered. The little boy keeps getting hurt, and at the end he gets killed.
Yeah.
I love it for the same reason. It's like there's no attempt at cutting away from the nastiness. It's just full on, which I have a feeling.
Yay!
Oh, God.
But yeah,
they just like, I see what you mean. Like they just don't act like real people.
No, these are cartoon zany people.
There's these teens who just run over a kid deliberately and they're like, yeah, whoa, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Lloyd Kaufman and the work that he did in this film started really the idea of the expanded universe. You have Lloyd to thank, really, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe being the way it is. Because after this film, he decided, because he liked the tone and the universe so much, that all of his other films he was going to set in that universe, in that tone, in that style. Tromaville. Yeah. So you end up with things like Sergeant Kabuki Man, which is set in universe, and you know they do crossovers with the Toxic Avenger in like Toxic Avenger 4 and things like that.
And it's not less like Marvel. I'm thinking it reminded me more of like the way that like Stephen King always sets his stories in Maine, and in New England, and all his books seemingly they're not heavy on it, but they all seem to take place in the same continuity. There's references, very subtle references to other works of his.
Yeah.
I think Dark Tower was the only time he actually properly crossed him over and had a big like Endgame style fight with the baddie from The Stand. People who read Stephen King know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm guessing it's none of you lot.
It's completely over my head.
Never read any Stephen King?
I've never... you saw how long it took me to read a Doctor Who bloody pamphlet.
I'm not asking you to read the Bible.
I read 200 pages took me 3 years of university. So...
Oh my God, I won't give you The Stand. That thing's about 500 pages long.
Yeah.
And it has an expanded edition.
I'm a slow reader. But yeah, so, I mean, basically just to sort of wrap up on...
That's silly.
To sort of wrap up on the point...
That's me.
Around about the mid-90s, Troma kind of stopped giving a shit, and the films kind of went into... It's split into two categories, which was films that were just being mean and offensive for no reason. So, like...
But with no sense of, like, fun behind them.
Oh, yeah.
Like that... That scene just then of them killing the child, that seems like if you describe it on paper to someone, it would sound horrible.
Yeah.
And not unfunny.
Yeah.
But the execution of it was just so... They just went for it.
Well, yeah. This is the thing. And this film has a real charm about it, a real
it's
sincerity.
It's like a Goonies type thing that's just gone horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah. Well, this is it.
Somewhere along the line.
And the second film, basically, you can tell where Troma goes very clearly on the Toxic Avenger sequels. Each one, progressively, to me at least, gets worse and worse and worse until by the time you get to Toxic Avenger 4, which is the current last one, although they're doing a reboot where Peter Dinklage is going to be playing the Toxic Avenger.
Okay,
Elijah Wood is playing the main bad guy in it as well. Very strange setup.
Sounds very fan servicey.
The fourth film opens with a bomber going into a special needs school and basically trying to blow up the school, but like all of the people in there are just actors, like pretending to be mentally unwell. And it's very unpleasant, and it doesn't have that charm is long gone by that point. You can tell at that point they're literally just going for, we want to shock you. It doesn't have this level of kind of
daftness.
Yeah, about it. It's gone full blown just being nasty for the sake of being nasty.
Right. Balls of steel, basically.
Yeah. But then the other sort of offshoot that they did was around about the start of the 2000s, they realised that lots of people who watched were basically stoners who were a bit horny.
Well, I think they realised their audience.
Pretty early on. So from about the 2000s onwards, they basically just produced softcore flicks where basically there's almost no plot.
Kind of like what Ed Wood did.
Yeah,
near the end of his life.
Effectively, and for the last at least 20-odd years, barring one or two films that have come out where they've had like actual celebrities tied to them.
Yeah.
Like they did a Return to Newcomb High sequel where James Rolfe turned up for a while.
I wonder what's going to happen with all those cans.
It's actually all of the Mountain Dew being removed from the city, so... yeah, basically nowadays...
Mountain Dew or crab juice?
I'll take a crab juice. Basically, nowadays, Troma just produces porn or produces sequels to their popular franchises that are very mean-spirited and don't really say or do a lot. Or the third option, and this one's even weirder, they have a very, very large distribution network.
Right.
So rather than having Troma Presents at the start of the film, it'll say Troma Distributes at the start. But they'll buy, like, any shite. Anything. I could probably film a 60-minute film of you and me just going, and send it to them. They would probably buy it and put it out.
Well, that's what I assumed we were doing after we're done here.
Well, yeah, you'll be able to find Dan and Ben go on the Troma's website.
Which will also be the name of the film.
Yes.
Dan and Ben go.
That's spelled It's
actually a cover. We're actually doing a cover of the album Two Virgins by John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
But yeah, I mean, Troma, I will say this. This isn't me picking on Troma when I say that basically they sold out all their morals and values and ended up just buying porn and really shit films to try and sucker money off poor schlubby people who will sit and watch absolute trash. Like, you know, when I'm saying I won't watch those films because there's just no value to them at all, that you've transcended a line. And I'm not picking on people who enjoy those films, as their business, but man, I can't go there. That's a bridge too far for me. But they're not the only studio to do it. Full Moon Features did exactly the same thing. They're the people who did the Puppet Master films and stuff like that. And Dan and Ben Go Quiet for the topless scene.
I'm just thinking of the start of Fit But You Know It by the Streets.
Yes.
Excuse me, girl. I couldn't help notice you got some 10 lines. See, I reckon you're about an 8 or a 9.
Maybe a 9.5 in 3 beers' time. I have a cousin who looks just like the lead singer of the Streets.
Someone said I once looked like the lead singer of the Streets when I had a shaved head.
I've only ever seen one picture of you with short hair, and it was very unusual.
I've destroyed all of them.
I think it was your old passport photo.
It's like any old photo. It's like when Lenin died and Stalin had all the photos of him removed from history and removed him from photographs. That's what I've done with my old shaved head pictures. They've been purged.
I think I've only seen one photo of you without a beard and moustache.
Yeah.
And that was very strange. Just not used to it. You see what I mean? It's daft, but it's entertainingly daft.
I'm also getting Ken Russell vibes.
Yes. Well, look, again, Lloyd was a very big is a very big fan of Ken Russell's work in particular.
I can see that, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, when you see shots like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is The Devils, effectively.
There's the bit in The Devils where she has the fantasy that turns into a nightmare of a hunchback and they're all laughing at her.
But this...
it's just... you can't... That is the most fantastic origin story.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, this is the thing, though, and this is the thing with Lloyd Kaufman. I mean, a lot of people who have worked with him on a higher level have said he's a genuinely supportive, genuinely lovely person. And, you know, he's very creatively minded and he's a very shrewd businessman.
Yeah.
Anybody below sort of writer, director, producer level or like star level, I've only ever heard them say absolutely awful things about him, both him and his workload regime. And again, this is all speculation. I don't want to open any lawsuits here. So.
Is it because he pushes people, or
it's crunch stuff from what I've heard. I mean, again, this is all speculation. Don't take these are just things that I have heard. They're not, don't take them literally. But it's like stuff like crunch stuff. They'll have people working on unregulated hours, or they won't do overtime, or I mean, I think he's probably done more good for the filmmaking scene than bad ultimately. Yeah. Even if he spent the next 10 years making really shite films that I'm not going to watch, the idea that he's bought the idea of making your own film into the... I mean, he actually published a series called Make Your Own Damn Movie. Which
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That policeman's hands are on fire. It started off as a book series and then it became a film and video series. And it shows you step by step the entire process of making an independent film. Oh, yeah. This shit's great. But yeah, I mean, I can recommend that series if you ever want to get into filmmaking. It's about they teach you about as much as they teach an actual film degree. So
yeah.
I mean, the choice is £50 for the Lloyd Kaufman set or nearly 300 for the Neil Breen version. I don't know where I'm putting my money.
I have shot 5 full feature films.
I'm now going to spend 35 minutes talking about some of my favourite props.
Some good, like, animatronic type stuff.
Yeah. Well, again...
Like all that business with his arms.
Well, this is the sort of period now. I mean, Lloyd Kaufman initially got his break shooting adult movies, unsurprisingly. Yeah. But he shot like a series of sort of adult films and a few other bits and pieces, and that let them put enough money together to actually start making movies. And I can't remember if the Toxic Avenger was the first one they did, or it might have been Mother's Day. But this is one of the earliest films they worked on, to my knowledge at least. And yeah, it's good because this is still low budget filmmaking. This isn't like
they've probably made a lot go a long way though.
Oh yeah, well
all this stuff wouldn't have been cheap.
No. I mean, you've got to imagine this film was more than made its budget back.
And we've just had a stunt of someone jumping out of a window.
Yes, which again wouldn't have been particularly cheap at the time.
I'm guessing they raised the money through like this various hawking around various distribution places.
So the way,
or did they do it like how Sam Raimi funded Evil Dead, where they just went to like their parents' friends, their dentist, their doctor?
So the way I seem to don't quote me on this, but the way I seem to recall,
I'm going to quote you on everything.
Oh shit!
All being quoted.
The way I seem to recall them getting the money together for this film was that Michael, I want to say his name's Michael Hertz. I can never remember his name. He's the other half of Troma, basically.
Yeah.
He's the businessman. His job was getting money the traditional way, so calling back as getting funding through those means.
Yeah.
Lloyd was the filmmaker, and he did a lot of gun for hire jobs, effectively, to make the money to help get the funding together.
Adverts, stuff like that.
Yeah. And together the pair managed to raise the capital to make this. And this was a phenomenal success at the time, which was one of these weird films as well that spawned a kids' TV series. Like an actual popular kids' TV series as well.
He looks like Michael Keegan Key, the other half of Key and Peele.
Yeah, I can see it. They had a kids' TV show called The Toxic Crusaders, where the Toxic Avenger is like a kids-friendly version, and he fights crime on the streets.
There was a bit of a trend for that around this time. You had the real Ghostbusters,
RoboCop.
There was an Ace Ventura cartoon series. There was a Dumb and Dumber one.
Yeah, Rambo had one.
Yeah.
Still think that's bizarre. Rambo 3 got banned in the UK, and they had a bloody cartoon on BBC. That's a reference from Guardians of the Galaxy as well.
Oh.
So you have Cigar Face and then in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, yeah, James Gunn, of course. I know that he did stuff for Troma.
Yes, his big break was the film Romeo and Juliet, which is a late 80s, early 90s Troma. It's one of the good ones.
Yeah.
It's just basically a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, but like with boobs and
exploitation. But like this.
Yeah, basically. Which, brilliant, fine. He actually returned the favour because, again, Stan Lee was a big friend of Lloyd Kaufman, and when he found out that James Gunn had worked with Lloyd Kaufman on things like Romeo and Juliet, he got Lloyd in for a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Where is he in Guardians of the Galaxy?
So the scene where the gang get arrested and go to the prison facility.
Right.
Lloyd Kaufman is one of the prisoners in the rafters shouting for him to be killed.
Oh, right. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's only a blink and you'll miss it type thing, but...
Still cool, though.
Yeah. It's kind of a nice bringing everything together. If you keep an eye on... I think you pointed this out, actually. It was either you or Triv messaged me a while ago about it. If you look at James Gunn's TV series and films, he always sneaks in references to exploitation filmmakers in one of his recent projects.
That wasn't me who told you that.
No, it'll be Triv then.
They're going to do a RoboCop.
Yes.
Man, you have suffered an emotional shock. I will notify a rape crisis center.
Good night. Like for example, in one of his latest films, there's a person who walks past a sign that says Henenlot Video, which is a reference to Frank Henenlotter, the director of Basket Case and Bad Biology and Brain Damage and Stats Exploitation and Basket Case 2 and...
I always love it when they do that in films. The rolling punches. Because it'd be basically impossible to do in real life.
Oh, yeah.
Without... He's just like the sudden cut. 1 minute he's alright, the next minute covered in blood.
It's great. I love this series. I have very strong feelings for Toxic Avenger and Toxic Avenger 2. 3 and 4, I can't sit through. I tried. I made it all the way through them once, and I don't think I'll ever watch them again.
Is it just too much?
3 and 4 came out quite close together, and they're in that period of Troma where they were just doing shock for the sake of shock rather than any kind of meaning.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's a very hard watch. Like, this has got a plot to it. This makes
just about.
Yeah. Well, imagine if this had no plot but was quite mean.
Oh.
And it's basically that. It's just.
I mean, it's essentially an Incredible Hulk film.
Yes.
Just told in a very, 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 very graphic way.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a Toxic comic as well, and I know, like I say, that
undoubtedly.
Yeah. And I know that, like I say, Stan Lee was very good friends with Lloyd Kaufman, so I could easily see them, having chats.
There's undoubtedly a comic of this. I don't even need to look that up to know.
I'm gonna go confirm it because it's the kind of
he talks in a high voice. Oh, that's funny.
I'll
get you for this.
Yes, there was a comic book series, but only very short comic book series. Only ran from 1991 to 1992. But you'll be surprised to know it was a Marvel comic.
Well, yeah, that figures.
Hey, it's Super Cop. And that fucking gun.
So that's a Nazi salute he's doing.
Yeah, he shoved his hand up and went Achtung.
That's very subtle. Although I suppose subtlety wasn't their strong point.
Oh no. Troma is to subtlety.
They understand subtlety. They understand it so they can disregard it.
Well, this is it. And that's why I think these early Troma films work so well, is because they understand the rules of filmmaking. They understand what audiences at the time were used to.
Yeah.
Which means they can perfectly subvert them without going too far.
Why don't they do spinning newspapers in film anymore?
Well, Ben, be the change you wish to see.
I want to see that come back. I want to see like the. Who is this mass terror?
I'm going to bring out my inner Sun journalist here. See, the problem is if they were to do that today, Ben, it would be a spinning iPad, but that's the sign of the times, isn't it?
Well, it looks cool, that's all I know.
The fact that his name is just Cigar Face, and even like the mayor is calling him Cigar Face. If you dig this film,
yeah,
then the wind came over and blew it off again. If you like this film, I think you'll really like. There's another one I picked up quite recently. I saw it on Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, and he did a really good job of breaking it down as well, like going with all behind-the-scenes stuff. Have you ever seen Dead Heat?
No.
Really fun little film. It's about a buddy. It's like a buddy cop movie, but the twist of it is that one of the cops gets murdered and another cop gets hit with an experimental machine that sort of kills him but keeps him alive.
Okay.
And he's got a set time limit whilst he's decomposing to try and figure out who murdered his friend.
Yeah.
And as the film goes on, he's just like, it's like a bit like The Fly. You just like bits of him start dropping off. He starts changing colour, and it's very much this kind of attitude towards filmmaking, which I quite like. Although I don't think it was a Troma film. But it came out around about this time.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear. Like the fact that they put a towel over the cameraman's head so that you couldn't see the camera. Oh, it's just one of the thugs. He got tricked out. So
they tricked us. They did a Shyamalan.
They did. It's the plot twist is there was always a plot twist. So how many Tromas have you seen?
Probably not a lot. I could probably count them on one hand. This ages ago. Class of Nukem High.
Yeah, I've
seen that. Seen the Surf Nazis one. I think that's about as far as my knowledge goes.
Yeah. I mean,
I love the dubbed voice as well.
Yes.
I actually thought at first that was meant to be, when I first heard it just now, I actually thought it was narration.
No,
because it's dubbed on so obviously.
Yeah.
Oh no, what is this?
Is this my life? Yeah, that's one of the few little touches I really like about this film, that they give Toxie an actual, like, normal person's voice.
Yeah.
He's just perfectly fine. Like, you'd expect him to maybe be, like, sort of grumbly, but...
Well, I mean, if you were covered in toxic waste, it would probably ruin your vocal cords. I say that, like, the answer isn't, if you're covered in toxic waste, you just die.
Immediately.
Yes. You'd almost certainly not survive. I mean, you probably wouldn't survive a fall from a window.
No.
For a start.
Let alone into a barrel of radioactive toxic waste.
It'd be like that bit in RoboCop.
Oh, where he becomes Melty Man.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it was either Spoonie or Brad Jones who did that joke. They got the Melty Man to run out in front of the car, but they dubbed over the trailer for the Toxic Avenger. So as he sort of rolls, he goes, transforming little Melvin into the Toxic Avenger, and then the car hits him.
I don't know, sounds like a Brad Jones thing.
Yeah.
Why is it?
Oh, they're at a party.
Just get some women to randomly jig in the background. There you go.
I think I kind of preferred Toxic Avenger 2 to the original Toxic Avenger, and the only reason being is it's a little bit... It kind of pushes things even further, but not to an uncomfortable level. The sequel involves Toxie going to Japan.
Oh, God.
Where he ends up like fighting sumo wrestlers and
he fight Godzilla.
Yeah, he turns up on Japanese radio, and it's every possible stereotype about Japan you could possibly imagine. But it's
they've got to have him fight Godzilla.
Well, I don't think he does fight Godzilla, but I think that there are kaiju references in there.
Yeah.
There's a bit where he attacks somebody with a frying pan that's shaped like a fish.
Meanwhile,
it's the class. It's from Rock and Roll High School. I like the fact that the Mexican restaurant is called the Mexican Place.
I just got very serious and disturbing. I've been saying I've been getting such and such vibes, but I just got very seriously disturbing Mac and Me vibes.
Yes.
From this sequence.
Hey, well, I mean, I recently picked up Nuki, so you can look forward to that one, Ben, coming soon.
I am the beast who eats Mackie D's. Do what we want, or we'll break off your knees. I am the beast who...
Speaking of which, it's funny you mentioned Mackie D's with Nuki, because Nuki was also funded almost entirely by McDonald's money. So... Always really good characters.
Always really good villains.
Yeah. They all just really look the part for this type of film.
Oh, I can do that. It's nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shoots the tail. Isn't that a cigar face who's working in the back of the restaurant? When it cuts back to him.
Let's have a look.
Just evil personified.
It's amazing. And this is the kind of film where it really could go either way.
Yeah.
I could quite easily see them blowing a baby's head off in this film, and that wouldn't really shock me. Have you ever seen Forbidden Zone?
No.
I'm going to have to show you Forbidden Zone at some point.
I've seen your Forbidden Zone.
Ben, you told me you wouldn't talk about that in public. God. It's got very strong this vibes. Done by Richard and Danny Elfman.
Oh.
It was basically the Oingo Boingo movie.
See, that sounds great.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's fucking fun. I've lent it to my uncle over Christmas. He hasn't given me back yet, but when he does, I'll make sure that that's on the list.
He just shot Matthew Broderick.
Oh, no.
Now who's going to play Ferris Bueller?
That'll teach him for running over that teenager.
Matthew Broderick is an actual murderer.
Scot-free. Married Sarah Jessica Parker. Who'd have thought it?
What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, we've all read the reviews.
Oh, that's they had to depict a blind person by having her eyes wide open, gurning. That's just like... Oh, he's gonna shoot the dog. Jesus Christ. Well, my partner will not be watching this. She will point blank refuse. The minute that scene comes on, she will immediately reach up and turn the film off. We went to watch Akira, right?
Right.
When they re-released it last year, or 2019 anyway. They released it in 4K. By the way, it looked fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And in the opening scene, the first 10 minutes has a bit where a dog gets violently murdered.
Oh.
Violently shot. Rather like that.
Yes.
And because it's an anime, obviously nothing's left to the imagination.
No.
Becky actually lied to me and said, "Oh, I just need to go to the toilet." I was like, "You've just been." It's like you just don't want to watch the scene because you...
Just rip his arm off.
I was like, it's a shot and it lasts 2 seconds, and then the rest of the film, no other dogs get shot.
You see, the secret is you don't tell her.
Yeah, but the thing is, she'd seen me watching it on Blu-ray, and she saw that bit, and then she got really fucked off.
Oh, bless.
If I got mugged by a gentleman with his face when he got flipped, it looked like he was enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Like I say, it looks like everybody was having just a really good time making this.
Yeah, I mean, I know that films are generally stressful and long and time consuming, but so it's hard to say. But I mean, the actors aren't pulling anything back at all.
Oh no.
I'm sure they were gleefully encouraged not to.
I'm trying to figure out if drugs or hyperactive. It's going to be one of the two. They're either on a sugar crash or it's cocaine. Poor Grandmaster Flash, man. Poor Grandmaster Flash. I'm sure you told me, didn't you once, do a gig and it was entirely off his iPad or something?
My friend saw Grandmaster Flash at a festival in Manchester. I don't think it was Park Life, because Park Life is for babies. It was another thing. And he just had a Mac, and it crashed 4 times. So there's my friend watching him with him and 2 roadies with 5 fans blowing on this Mac, trying to get it to cool down so it'll play. And I'm thinking, this guy practically invented DJing as we know it. He invented scratching as we know it, and turns and all that. And, revolutionised all these analogue techniques. And he's there with a little Diddy Mac. It's just rubbish.
God. What a shame. What a shame. Instead,
this isn't rubbish. This is good. Speaking of rubbish, you just hit him with a bin.
Well, I mean, I'll also say this. If you do enjoy this film and want to get it on Blu-ray, it is...
That guy.
Oh.
See that guy who was cowering just then?
Oh, yes.
Is that not the same guy?
No, I don't think it is. I think he's a little too big.
Similar.
They are quite similar looking, yeah. If you do enjoy this film, by the way, and want to pick it up, I can tell you now that the Blu-ray copy of this is £3.
The guy who played Cigarface. I don't know why I'm so fixated on him. Is he the same guy from the Tim and Eric sketch with the "It's Not Jackie Chan"?
Yeah, sure, why not? I can't remember it, to be honest. It's been a very long time since I've had a rewatch.
It's the one where it's name 10 things that aren't Jackie Chan. Pizza, Jackie Chan. Ah! And then he plays the buzzer, and it just buzzes for 4 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes a wincy moment.
Oh, yay. It's kind of film where if you have the thought of, I wonder if that'll happen, and it usually does.
Yeah. I mean, personally...
It rewards your curiosity.
I'm upset they didn't shoot the baby, but I can live with it because they did get to shoot the dog. So.
I feel like I'd be desensitized to that now if they did have a scene where a baby gets shot.
Yeah.
It'd just be normal now in this tone. there's a bit in the 2011 film Hobo with a Shotgun where a school bus full of children get burned alive.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
There's a scene in Hobo with a Shotgun where one of the trailer park boys gets his head ripped off, isn't it?
Yes. That film is very much a Troma tribute, homage, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very, very much.
Tarantino and Rodriguez were quite big Troma fans.
Well, it's not a Tarantino film.
No, but it's inspired by the trailers from Grindhouse.
It was because this guy... Oh, God, the dog. It's because the guy had made the fake trailer for Grindhouse, and then on the back of that, he got the money to just make it as a feature with Rutger Hauer and everyone.
They were considering a sequel for a time on Hobo with a Shotgun, but then Rutger Hauer, the bastard, had to go and fucking die.
What a knob.
I know. I wanted Hobo with a Shotgun 2.
Well, actually, it was going to be, because he dies at the end, spoilers.
Yeah.
It was going to be, there's like the baddies in Hobo with a Shotgun are like these weird sort of monster robot men called the Plague.
Yes.
And it was going to be based on sort of them, I think. I don't know. But...
I mean, I'm still holding out.
There's something very... I know it's deliberate. I know it's always very melancholy seeing shots of the World Trade Center in the background of films. It always makes me feel nice though. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not saying I enjoy 9/11. I'm just saying that it's sort of like a bygone time.
Hey Ben, what if you enjoy 9/11? That's your business.
The sight of a New York skyline in most films is now enough to date it. You know?
You automatically get a sense of the time.
Then again, these days, scenes where more than two people are in a room without a mask is enough to date it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey Dan, remember when we could go to places?
Remember when we wouldn't die?
Remember when we could go do stuff?
Remember when the government pretended to give a shit about us and didn't scrap all the fucking COVID rules because?
That was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, okay, it's not the same guy.
No. Equally as well, I can say that if you enjoy this style of filmmaking, I can highly recommend the works of Mark Pirro. He did films like Nudist Colony of the Dead.
Oh, I've heard of that.
He did Death Row Game Show, which is the only film he shot on 35mm film. It's very good. Vinegar Syndrome did a good release of it a while ago. What else did he do?
They're doing like a... what's that Eric Stoltz film called? Where he's like he's got like a deformity and the blind girl. What's it called?
See, now you're just making me think of the Lionel Richie music video for Hello.
I can't remember what it's called, but it came after this. It does the similar kind of thing. It's Eric Stoltz and someone else, and he's got like a deformity, and she's a blind girl, and they fall in love. It's fucking annoying me now what it's called.
Oh yeah.
What's it called?
Oh, you want to know what it's called, do you?
That was the aim of you reaching for your phone.
It's called Mask.
Mask, that's it. Oh, damn.
1985, year after this.
Yeah, that's like the exact same plot.
I like to think that they watched this film.
Well, you never know.
I think it was based on a true story.
This film is based in reality. Everything in it is real. They shot a dog.
They actually shot a dog. We went through 6 dogs during the shoot. Every time we took a take, Lloyd would say, needs more dog.
That is a very sensitive cultural reading of a European man he's doing.
Yes.
Hello, how are you?
Did I tell you I picked up the entire works of Mark Pirro over Christmas, and he sent them himself. It wasn't sent through a company.
Is that the guy who you had the correspondence with, or is that someone else?
No, that's J.R. Bookwalter. Mark Pirro, Nudist Colony of the Dead Man. He has a website called Paramount, where you can go and buy like his stuff, and one of his options on his website is to just buy fucking everything he's ever made for like 120 quid. And I was like, all right. So I bought it, and about 6 weeks later it turns up, and the signature on the top of the package for the postage was signed by him. So I'm pretty sure that he basically just like packaged them at his house.
Why not?
And sent them over.
Winners don't use drugs, Dan.
They don't. And if they do, they're very sneaky about it.
just give some gigantic needles.
It was the maniacal laugh that accompanied it that sold it on me.
It's like sort of like, it's like a drug PSA, but deliberately silly.
Yes. I think that's where I'd like to be in life. Eating a really nice sandwich, shirtless on a table, being massaged by beautiful women.
Or by Mario over there.
Yes. I mean, I can.
I'm sure this film's portrayal of drugs is going to be very, very realistic.
Very tasteful.
And really tasteful, and not at all strange and offensive.
I think that's the best way to describe this film.
Yeah.
Strange and offensive.
It's too bewildering to be offensive.
That's another one I need to show you at some point. Unmasked Part 25.
I'd love to know what the... when they were directing scenes like this, or directing the actors to just go big, what they would have told them. I'm imagining that like maybe the actors doing what actors do would be dialing it back at first. They'd go, no. Bigger, more. Even more.
Bigger.
Now to go 10 times more.
More.
Yeah.
Crushed his head like a melon.
Just a shot of a guy's crotch, why not?
I imagine...
I've seen more tits and arses in this film than I've seen in my entire life.
It's
in real life.
That's the joy of Uncle Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... I imagine the way to do it is you start off by saying, I want the biggest performance you can possibly give me.
Yeah.
And then go, more.
Zelda, you just have no capacity in your brain for learning, do you? That part of your brain is just switched off. It's like Arnie in Terminator 2. My CPU is a neural net processor.
Dickwad.
Are they going to fake us out again, or...?
Nah, I think this time it's a good and proper killing.
Is she...
She is.
Oh.
Progressive.
I feel like with this film, if you start a question by going, is he... and the answer is usually yes.
Yes, he is. Yes, she is. Yes, they are. Yes, it is.
I don't know what Zelda thinks is so fascinating doing here.
What's having adventures?
What are you doing, you little knobhead? And you can't just, like, have a wank in a restrained way. She has to do it in this, kind of way. Well, this video...
18 plus.
18 plus, age restricted. This video you're going to get the whole... This video contains sexual themes. Do you wish to... I bet you've had that on a few of your videos.
Dan and Ben contain sexual themes that may not be suitable for all audiences.
I bet you get that on a few of your videos.
To be honest, I'm normally pretty good at grading them myself as 18 plus before YouTube tell me. I've only ever had one case where they've marked me up and I appealed it and they'd let me mark it back down again because they realised they were wrong.
That's the first time we've seen his face.
Yes.
Yeah. Properly, anyway.
And it's probably the best you'll ever look. Again, as the films go on, the mask gets progressively cheaper and worse. Mainly for budget.
Of course.
For years, he was planning to do a Toxic Avenger 5, and it just never came to fruition. It was supposed to be the son of Toxie, and the idea was he had a kid, and it became like Shrek 3.
Those age restrictions are a sort of slightly new thing on YouTube. I was watching the Filthy Frank videos, and I was watching the one he does about... Remember the one he did about life hacks?
Oh, yeah.
Life hacks?
Yeah!
Yes. Well, that's when I clicked on it, it came up with a thing saying, this video contains themes of self-harm and suicide. Do you want to proceed?
Blimey.
I think it's because of the ending, if you remember, where he's got the shotgun. Yeah. It's like, just fucking do it. Yeah. Just fucking kill yourself. Yeah.
Well, that's
it's just that over and over. And I just found that so funny because it's like, this is so ridiculous. It's kind of like this in a way. Yeah. It's so ridiculous. No one could possibly see this and think that it's tacitly encouraging suicide.
Well, there was a reason why the BBFC passed this.
Well,
they banned
fucking stupid.
They banned Driller Killer and Zombie Flesh Eaters and Evil Dead, but this was fine. This came out the same year as the Video Recordings Act.
Maybe it was, and this was never on that list. It was never
went anywhere near the list. It had a couple of cuts made to the more graphic bits, but I don't think a lot was chopped
I think it's
out.
Because as much as the BBFC were very, shall we say, overprotective in the 80s, they're also not idiots, and I think they maybe realised that no one who is alive could watch this and be encouraged to do anything in it in real life.
The bizarre reveal was only a couple of years later. They would, however, ban Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 from getting
the Garbage Day.
Yeah.
That film.
That film was banned. And
He's helping an old lady across the street. Got those fantastic 80s drums hammering away in the background.
Not only did he open the jar, because he's got radioactive hot hands, he popped the popcorn.
I noticed that. If he's got radioactive hot hands, wouldn't he have fried that baby?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you can turn it on and off.
That's great running.
Love it. I love the spinning newspapers again. I wonder how they do the spinning newspaper effect. Do they spin the camera or do they put it on some kind of dolly?
It's like a... What do they call it? It's a rostrum camera. You know, like
right.
what they use to... When you see old documentaries and films, what they use to actually show the photographs. So it was like a camera that's facing downwards and the photos like that. So what they'll do is they'll probably just like took a few stills and then animated it so it looks like it's spinning.
I'd have thought
Although if you have a good enough rostrum camera, you can probably just spin it yourself.
I was going to say, I would have thought it would have been an easier one to do through some kind of like turntable.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It depends really. But it's just a photographic that's been manipulated. So
yeah,
and like I say, back in them olden days, you'd use a rostrum. You'd use a rostrum camera. So that's probably what they did. Remember that Big Train sketch about the Kevin Eldon playing the rostrum cameraman who's losing his mind, who's become like a drug addict?
Yes. We need to do some Rudy Ray Moore films at some point. P.T. Wheatstraw was covered by RLM a while ago.
I watched that Eddie Murphy film.
Dolomite is My
Moore.
Name.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's fucking great.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's it was written by the same guys who did Ed Wood.
Really?
Which figures.
Does explain a lot.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was really, really solid.
Michael Keegan, who I mentioned before, is in it. Mm-hmm. Plays the writer.
Wesley Snipes is in it as well.
Wesley Snipes is in it. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's really funny. Wesley Snipes might be a fucking weirdo who believes in Egyptian gods.
Yes.
But he's a funny guy.
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't really rate the first Dolomite film all that much. I think it's a good starting point, but it's not the best film.
P.T. Wheatstraw is like the Exorcist one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that there's a bit in that Dolomite is My Name where he's like talking with Keegan and he's like says something like, maybe we could put like the devil in it or a vampire or something. What? No, we'll save that for a later film.
Yeah.
It's like a little reference to P.T. Wheatstraw.
Yeah. I'd say P.T. Wheatstraw was his best film in terms of entertainment value. There is a lot to fucking love in that film. Disco Godfather is great. It's really weird, but it's great fun. And The Human Tornado is basically Dolomite 2, and it's a better version of Dolomite for me. That's the one where he has the clip, "Bitch, are you for real?"
Yes.
Oh, yes, the graphic mutant blind sex scene.
I know I justified it before, but I do love the idea of the BBFC sitting in a small, dusty room in 1984, fag smoke in the air.
Yeah.
Just like really cold, dusty office somewhere. Just watching this and just being like...
I like to think that
maybe that's why they passed it. They were just battered into submission by the film. Just like, I don't know.
They just
I guess.
They just sent
as long as you don't make us watch it again, we don't care.
They just sent Lloyd Kaufman a note back that just said "print destroyed."
You can't have your print back. Will not be returned.
We stopped taking notes. James Furman himself personally reviewed this film.
The Exorcist, no, bad. Can't be putting that in video.
No.
Mute toxic man having violent graphic sex while a dog gets shot? Great.
Perfect. Can we leave the scene where he gets his hands fried in? You betcha.
I thought she was blind.
Yeah, she is.
Well, how come she's laughing at him doing the thing with the traffic cone? So here we are at the health club.
Oh, great, boobies.
It becomes... You sort of become a bit desensitized to boobies, I think. It's like Caligula.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, more tits.
This is a more enjoyable experience than Caligula.
Yes, that is very, very true.
I mean, I'm a sadist, but I'm not,
You know why? Because this film doesn't go on for about 5 fucking years, that's why.
Although I do think this film would be improved with Malcolm McDowell.
I'd love to have spent the day recording on the wild track of all those grunting noises.
It was all Kenny Everett.
Yeah.
Just got him back in.
I feel like there's an influence going on here with Frankenstein.
Yes.
Slightly.
Yes. No, absolutely. There's tones there.
Yeah. Sort of like it is in a way sort of a modern retelling in one sense.
Mm. Well, I mean, this is an interesting time, really, particularly for the sort of history of cinema at this point, because Grindhouse...
Even his relationship with the blind girl mirrors the monsters meeting with the blind man.
Yes. Fire good.
I think I'll find out that it's not the monster is not actually called Frankenstein. He's called Frankenstein's monster. Actually, I think you'll find.
Wasn't the scene where Frankenstein meets the blind man in The Bride of Frankenstein and not Frankenstein? I mean, if we're going to call ourselves so-called movie buffs...
Yes, but that scene is in the book, and I might be talking about the novel, you didn't know.
Then I think we were referring to the Universal version. Of course, if you're talking the Hammer films, there wasn't a blind man at all in those movies.
Please let the record be shown that that voice only works if you do a pushing up glasses motion with your hand, like we do.
Yes.
Without realising.
Yes. We do rely a lot on physical hand gestures. We should probably do a video element to this, but then again, arse, mate, so... I mean, this is effort.
I know, but my eyes are all watery after hanging out with your cat, so that's just not an option.
Are you allergic to my cat?
I think I might be, because every time I come here, I get very snotty.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
Every time I come here, I think I've got COVID.
Should we have her? I will have her destroyed.
Have her destroyed now.
Come on, Zelda, into the fryer.
No, I'm not. I don't think I'm allergic because it only happens after I've been around them for ages. And if I was allergic, I'd swell up almost immediately upon Zelda coming near me.
That's true. That is true. Well, we've got Cetirizine on standby if you need anything to sort of help.
We've got some of the crazy arts drugs that they were selling earlier in the Toxic Avenger.
Shit, what's it called? It's not a decongestant. Antihistamine.
Albasoil.
Antihistamine. We've got some antihistamines in if things get too intense.
Oh no! Okay, so we've murdered children, we've murdered dogs. What's left? I know.
The elderly.
The elderly.
James Furman writing increases.
Notes getting increasingly furious. Handwriting becomes more ineligible. Maybe that's why they passed it, because they couldn't read the notes. They were just ineligible.
It was going so quickly. Unfortunately, we could not complete a certification of your film as we burnt the print out from having to replay it so many times. Yeah, they banned Rambo 3 because he used a knife in it.
Because there was a knife in it.
But
had you seen 1 and 2, which also had a knife in it?
And some gun.
And a gun.
And some gun.
And a guns.
And some gun or a guns. But this film where they beat an old lady and punch a man's nose off.
And violently shoot a dog.
And then cut back to the dog bleeding and rotting.
Yeah. Just in case...
you're actually quite a lucky person. She never settles on people like that.
Lucky me. I'm about to get pissed on. I can see that happening.
Quite possibly. Well, a litter tray's open, so if she does, you do have legal right to throw her.
That little crashing.
Can we get that just isolated and put on You're the Man Now, dog?
Yeah.
We'll call it.
See, I bet this wouldn't have been cheap either, all this stunt work in the car.
No, not at all.
He has one of the most distinctive screams in all of Hollywood.
It's quite beautiful. Simply lovely.
He's up there with the woman in black. We should watch that for this.
Oh, the woman in black?
Yeah.
Which version?
The 89 ITV version.
You know, I've got the Daniel Radcliffe version. It's been on my to watch pile now since 2017.
No. The Daniel Radcliffe one is just generic jump scary horror film. The 1989 Nigel Neal adaptation made for ITV is the one to watch. I've just got the network Blu-ray of it.
I've got Ghost Watch and the Stone tapes as well. We could certainly put them together.
The network Blu-ray of The Woman in Black is exceptional, and it has a commentary that has your best friend Kim Newman.
Oh, excellent.
And Mark Gatiss.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
I always enjoyed Kim Newman. I find him very affable.
Yeah.
Although, one thing that has bothered me about, and it's Kermode has the same problem as well, and they seem to have a bit of a... I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but I don't agree with them. They seem to have a bit of a snobbery around the way that people become journalists, film journalists in particular.
What do you mean?
Well, basically, in one of Kermode's books, and he says Kim Newman has the same sort of mindset as him, unless you went down the route of you worked for a newspaper or a radio station doing film reviews straight from the off. You wrote for magazines. You built up a profile of writing that way. And unless you worked your way up in that very specific way, you're not a real film critic. And he specifically, at one point in the book that I read of his, targets online journalism and says that basically it's not real film criticism. It's not real journalism.
I can see where they're coming from to a degree.
I mean, I understand it in the context of the people who read the back of the box and then go, yeah, it's good.
A bit, although it's kind of the same thinking as being like, well, you're not a real filmmaker unless you went to UCLA and you did all this stuff and then you did this. And it's like, well, all you need to be a filmmaker is just an instinct and an ambition and a drive. A
camera and an idea.
Yeah.
Go.
Or in John Luke Goddard's words, all you need to make a film is a camera, a girl, and a gun.
Yeah, basically.
That was his way of putting it.
This is it, But yeah, that's one of the only things that really bothers me about them is the idea that they have that kind of level of snobbery. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand. I think what they're trying to target is the people who they call themselves critics, but they just read the back of a box and then go, yeah, it's all right. And that's it.
Airheads, 1993. The popcorn classic.
I wonder if Mark Kermode likes On Cinema.
I don't know.
I could see him liking it. Or I could see him being really annoyed by it.
It's hard to get people to like it because you've got to ask them to watch 12 seasons of a show. Because it's literally one of those things of you can't really like and appreciate unless you've consumed all of it.
The 12 seasons, the podcast episodes, the trial, all of the Oscar specials.
Because you have to buy into the world they've created.
At least two seasons of Decca.
So it takes time to do that.
Decca versus Dracula.
Why is he killing her? Why is he killing her again?
That's a good point, actually. I do not know. I lost track. I got hung up on Mark Kermode.
Synopsis.
Wow.
There was silence because I knew it was coming.
Wow.
Sorry, Zelda. I'm not sorry, really.
Well, that's it, Ben. You've got coronavirus. How does it feel?
It feels great. I haven't actually had it yet, so I'm about due it.
Yeah, in fairness, I've been lucky.
I'm about due it. It's going to come hard. Starting today. I'm glad we got the moment of my death on audio, on mic.
Fully documented that microphone will be destroyed. I can't afford to destroy it. It's a 30 quid mic. God damn. Sensual.
Is it because he's got a taste for violence, or?
It could possibly be. It's been a while since I've seen this film. I can't exactly remember his motivation at this point. Not that the motivation of the Toxic Avenger is,
Not that it matters, you mean?
Yeah, not really.
Is that the same actor doing the voices who actually physically played him at the start?
Yeah. No. This is the voice of the actor who's playing him now.
Oh.
They ADR'd it, but I believe it's the same person. I can't see how they're going to do this with Peter Dinklage.
Could work, but like you say, they'll probably do what you were saying before and make it too hammy and too fan servicey and play up the craziness of it.
I mean, they're really pushing that it's going to be like a proper, because it's a reboot, it's not a sequel.
Right.
They're really pushing that it's going to be like a proper attempt to reboot it.
Yeah.
But I can't. It's like, how am I best putting it? It's a bit like if you told me that Francis Ford Coppola now was going to go and try and reboot Apocalypse Now. Now.
Well, he keeps re-editing it, so it's almost the same.
Like, it'd be like if you took the back garden Ken Russell and then told me that he was going to remake The Devils, but in his back garden.
I mean, he kind of did that. He spent his latter years making films in his garden.
Yes. But like, this time he was sincere about it.
Ken Russell's always sincere.
There was somebody who was... Yes! David Dakota. Are you aware of the David Dakota?
Remind me.
He's a big director for the companies like Full Moon. He's been covered in Red Letter Media a few times. He did DB Cooper Meets Bigfoot.
Yeah. I've seen the review of that. Isn't that weird sort of like semi-homoerotic?
Yes.
Like softcore film?
One of David Dakota's main things nowadays is he makes films featuring retired horror icons from the 80s slasher genre.
Right.
And hunky semi-naked guys. And that's basically the whole film.
That's his thing.
He did one called 1313 Cougar House. Okay. Which featured...
You don't have to just stop there. You don't have to say any more. The title just tells you all you need to know.
1313 Cougar House. Features 3 retired horror actresses who play cougars, who literally transform into cougars. And it's about a bunch of shirtless pool guys who wander around the house and slowly get seduced by these witch cougar women. When I say slowly, what I mean is the entire runtime. Anyway, my point was, David Dakota ended up doing some work with Ken Russell, and apparently he was one of the most aggressive men he'd ever dealt with.
Russell or David Dakota?
Russell. David Dakota worked for Ken Russell.
I can believe that.
I think he ended up taking one of his films off him as well towards the later years when he wasn't able to complete projects properly.
Yeah.
I think David Dakota mentioned at one point that he thought he might have had a stroke or something because he was having mobility issues down his left side.
Yeah, probably.
And he ended up basically taking a film off Ken, alongside Ken's manager. So I can't remember what film it was though.
His hair is so aggressive.
It's very angry. I'm going to go and urinate again, so I'm going to leave you.
Already?
I know, already.
Jesus Christ. You have the bladder of a 94-year-old.
The size of a Brazil nut. Oh, look at it.
Okay, so I'm sat here, I'm watching the Toxic Avenger. I'm trying to get a grasp of the plot while also talking and keeping it moving. It's surprisingly difficult to do. Oh, there's a dog. He's probably going to get shot in a minute. Surprisingly difficult to do. Even though I think the film kind of speaks for itself. Oh yeah, I have a feeling those two are not long for this world. I really do. I have a horrible sinking feeling. Half of this is just me giggling at it. That doesn't make for good commentary time, folks. Wonder if that's the same bloke from the Goonies. Anyone who's remotely female in this just gets undressed at some point, regardless of role or function in the film. Yes, I'm talking to you, Kat. Who are you looking at? Everyone who's female in this film gets undressed at some point.
Yes.
Whether, no matter their prominence in the film, whether they be a lead character, an extra,
yes.
a walk-on artist, a supporting character.
Yes.
Tits come out.
Welcome to the world of Lloyd Kaufman. I'm almost certainly sure that there were nudity clauses included in every single contract because they couldn't afford not to. It's nice,
the evil mayor.
It's nice,
the corrupt fat mayor.
Because I'll tell you what this kind of reminds me of. It reminds me of very early John Waters cinema.
Yeah, I can see that.
But with a budget. Like, Pink Flamingos and Multiple Maniacs were filmed for, like, fuck all, basically.
Yeah.
Shot on 8mm, 8 or 16mm.
But this has money pumped into it.
Oh, yeah. Well, the majority of Pink Flamingos was shot in the woods in a caravan that cost, I think it was $20. So everything else was pretty much what they could sort of get off people. This actually has a budget behind it, but the same sort of anarchy is there.
Yeah. It's a $10 million movie made on a $10,000 principle.
Yes.
That might be a good way to put it.
Perfect analogy. Could not put it better myself. I mean, the cut corners are there. If you look hard enough, you can see where the money's been skimped. But
that's true. That's true of any film.
I think a lot of the help in making this film look as good as it did came from advice from Roger Corman. Because, like I say, Lloyd Kaufman and Roger Corman were quite good friends. And I imagine having Corman under your wing, the sort of king of thrifting, probably helped no end to make that money go as far as it could bloody go.
They even have the do music in the background. Brilliant.
Love it. I love that they had 2 tanks.
And this is like Frankenstein, all the mob ready to attack and kill the monster.
I remember when the National Guard got called in to take out Frankenstein.
No, like as in a mob, not the National Guard.
Have you seen any of the Frankenstein movies past Bride of Frankenstein?
Yeah, this counts as one of them.
The Toxic Avenger. I quite enjoyed Son of Frankenstein. Anything after that?
Bela Lugosi played the monster.
Oh, it's either
I think Son is the last one that Boris Karloff did, wasn't it?
Yes.
He did Frankenstein Bride and Son, and then I think they recast him.
Son of Frankenstein has one of my favourite plot conveniences ever written into a film, which is that they go to the House of Frankenstein, and conveniently he's got a tar pit placed in the middle of the house with like a big pitfall from the top floor down.
Like you do have in most houses.
Yeah, you know.
You have one in yours?
Living room, kitchen, giant tar pit with a 3-story fall into it.
I mean, I had mine just done up last week.
Yeah, it's amazing, you know. That was the point for me where it jumped the shark. I think it was Ghost of Frankenstein was Bela Lugosi's.
Yeah.
But he's only in it very briefly as Frankenstein. And that also, now that I know that he is in those films, it kind of makes his line in Ed Wood a little bit less impactful.
Yeah, but I guess what he means by that is that he could have been iconic. I mean, he could have been iconic for playing the monster as opposed to Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Karloff didn't really.
That guy's gonna. Is he gonna go? Oh, I thought they were just gonna blow her away then.
I'm Spartacus.
No. I love that. Is that the same guy from the Goonies, by the way, playing Toxic Avenger?
No. No, it's not.
You know what I'm thinking of?
Yeah, the one who plays Sloth.
Yeah.
No. I think they could afford the actor who played Sloth in the Goonies.
Well, the Goonies was after this, I think. 85? This is 84?
Yeah, let me double check. 1985.
Yeah.
They made a Goonies 2?
Didn't we say all we had to say in Goonies 1? Didn't that sum up all the points we were trying to make?
Oh, right, okay. You type in Goonies 2 on Google and it gives you it could happen, with immediately followed by a quote saying, Corey Feldman says Goonies 2 is still a possibility after Richard Donner's death. However, more likely than not, it will never get made. Yes,
because Corey Feldman is an absolute fucking nutter who's totally lost the plot.
Yes.
So, very doubtful he'll be in Goonies 2.
Team him up with Dan Aykroyd and make Spies Like Us 2.
I mean, I've heard Corey Feldman's album.
Oh, yeah.
Once. Smash his head in. Put him in the washing machine. He won't fit. Oh, yes!
Yeah! Oh! Fucking guts everywhere.
Look at that, Kensington. Kensington Gore?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's alright, he's pushed it back in. He'll be alright, folks.
I know it's a Toxic Avenger, but why would you do that? That dubbing was spectacular.
Love it. Perfect. Oh yes, forgot about that.
Janet!
Brad!
Rocky!
Dr. Scott!
Janet!
Oh, the pounding 80s synth music is back, and that can only mean one thing.
It's pounding 80s drums, everyone clapping.
Everyone loves Toxie now.
Yeah.
Hey, great news, everyone! We're expecting!
So Melvin, the monster hero, rid Tromaville of all of its evil, so the good citizens could live their lives in peace and happiness.
I recognise the voice.
And the next time you're in danger or in need of help,
I recognise the voice of the narrator.
Keep an eye on the credits, then. I can't remember who does it, but it does sound familiar.
Toxic Avenger will be there.
I like how it ends with a trailer for itself.
Yes.
That's pretty neat.
It's saved on the money because they just have to chop that bit off and put it out in cinemas.
There you go, boom, trailer done.
Why build a unique trailer when you can just chop the end of the film off and call it quits?
You don't need to. A trailer. The ideal trailer for this film would just be all the money shots.
Yes.
Stitched together. The kid's head blowing up. The dog being swept across the floor.
With the narrator just occasionally going, "The Toxic Avenger!" And that would be good enough. Michael Herz. I thought it was Michael Hertz.
Well
Close
done.
enough.
You are terrible.
I know. I'm not in a good place. I'm never going to recover financially from this.
From making a Toxic Avenger?
Do you reckon that the investors, when they went to the screening of this film, to see where their money had gone. We're in a good place when the credits rolled.
We gave $10,000 to this.
But, Lloyd, we're a Christian organisation.
Body talk. Creative lawyers.
I suppose that was Stanley Kaufman, so that'd be one of Lloyd's relatives.
Yeah. Sound services by Magno Sound.
Yeah.
The best in quality sound production. Magno Sound.
Magna Sound.
Oh, sorry. I poked Zelda in the eye.
It's all right. It's just getting her back for scratching you. Also featuring
Barbie. Woman whose car gets stolen was played by Mary Ellen David.
I'm still trying to find the narrator.
Ice Cream Man was Richard Duggan.
Blonde Teeny Bopper was Teddy Copley.
Ah, yes, who can forget the classic boy selling t-shirts?
Oh, brilliant.
Policeman, 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 policeman. Policeman.
Hero Fan Club.
Hero Fan Club, Hero Fan Club, Hero Fan Club.
Interviewer William Clan. You can get the soundtrack for this, and I believe you can get it on radioactive green vinyl.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole load of bangers in this.
I like Body Talk.
Reminds me of the song My Imagination, which I think came out around the same time, but it doesn't sound anything like this.
I like the Mexican restaurant fight music. That was my favourite.
That's a deep cut.
Soundtrack was actually worked on by George Martin.
Thank you to Maxwell House,
Lipton
Morrow Restaurants, Nearly New Shop,
Morrow Restaurants, Rigging Co, Tiffany Lumber Company, Wigs by It's a Wig.
For your one-stop shop, Jack Daniel's Distillery.
Ooh.
When you need for your one-stop wigs, when you go to It's a Wig, located in all good bookstores.
But Ben, I need to find a wig. Where can I go to? It's a wig. So that was the Toxic Avenger. Ben, what did you think?
Oh, that was fun. That was fun. I went into that with no expectations whatsoever.
And you know what?
So it's always nice when that sense is rewarded.
Well, thank you so much to the fans who voted in our poll to pick the film we were going to talk about tonight. It was a nice treat. We genuinely, I mean, it's been 5 years since I saw it, and you know what? It's still as entertaining as I remember it being. We'll have to do the sequel at some point, Toxic Avenger 2. That one's still pretty wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us on the Toxic Avenger comedy dining experience, and we will see you next time.
Let's end it on a noise. Yeah, I'll do.